it's easier to get rid of you than it is to get rid of the crowd.
That's right.
So both times I was arrested, I didn't really have a whole lot of choice. I've had a lot of times where the officers will tell me, can you just stop for a while and give it a break, let things calm down, you know, and I'm not commanding you to do this, I'm just asking you to do it, and I'll cooperate with them. Or they'll say, you know, can you just move over here, or, you know, we're willing to comply with that. But an unreasonable request we're not willing to comply with, and that would be something like, you can't come back here.
Right.
And so we had to stand our ground. And so consequently I was arrested, and you know, the charges weren't dropped. Even my wife was arrested.
Wow.
And so, you know, I knew I would be arrested eventually. I tried to do what I could to avoid it, but it's difficult to see your wife arrested.
I hear that, brother.
You know, and then you know, you're there in jail and she's in jail. But you know, it went to court and we fought it and we won. And so sometimes you got to do that to back the officers off.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
stand your ground. So it's necessary, you know. Now, if you get arrested, you want to make sure you have a video camera going or an audio recording, because officers can lie, you know, people can lie, but the cameras don't lie.
Sure.
And a lot of times judges are, you know, more apt to side with the officer.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Now, I know this is going to be on a totally different subject, but I've noticed that a lot of these open-air preachers don't have a home church. They don't have a pastor. And as a pastor, that bothers me. Now, how do you feel about accountability? Do you feel like it's important? And have you taken any safeguards to demonstrate that you feel accountability is important?
Well, I feel accountability is important. You know, I believe that the church, the local church, was ordained by God, established by God. God gave apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers for the perfecting of the saints. So, yeah, I've taken safeguards. You know, I'm submitted to this church, submitted to you.
Right.
You know, you preach with me.
Right.
And so, it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing that a lot of open air preachers aren't accountable. They don't have a home church. Now, I'm not defending that, but as an open air preacher, some of it I can kind of understand how it comes about. You know, down where we're from, it's really hard to find good churches.
Right.
And then it's even harder if you're an open air preacher, because, you know, even people that believe in, you know, living a holy life, sometimes those people are against open air preaching.
Right.
And then some people that are for open air preaching, it's kind of anything goes.
Yeah, I see.
You know, a lot of times open air preaching, if you open air preach, that's a pass, you can do anything else.
Right.
And so, but then a lot of these guys, they get rejected by the church, and, you know, and then they get bitter.
Right, I see.
And it just goes on and on and on, you know. And then a lot of these guys, they may not think there are any good churches.
Right.
You know. So I'm not. It's not an excuse, but I can see how it happens.
Right. Right. Now, you already stated that you haven't always been a member of a Pentecostal Holiness Church. Obviously, you came to us here in December, I think, of 2006, and I was, to be honest with you, I was surprised that you looked as clean as you do. As being a Pentecostal holiness man, we preach old-fashioned Pentecostal holiness standards, you know, believe in the old-fashioned way. And another open-air preacher had called me and said, hey, there's a couple, you know, campus preachers down in Miami. They thought about coming and visiting you. They're from some Assemblies of God, you know, charismatic church. And I was like, oh, you know, of course everybody's welcome here, and we love to have anybody. We'll work with anybody and help them.
Right.
But I was expecting, you know, something a lot different. And you came in and you looked clean, Bible holiness, you know. and that sort of thing. And so I was very impressed. But what was your all's first impression when you actually found out that there's actually holiness churches where they believe like you and taught the Bible? I mean, how did you feel when you first went to a holiness church?
Well, we were real encouraged. You know, we were always, see, you know, where we're from, it's like you said, it's hard to find a good church, and so we were always very frustrated. You know, we always had difficulties. You either go to a church where it's worldly and you don't agree with a lot of stuff and just do the best you can, or you don't go.
Right.
Now we were always involved. You know, we were always in a church and, you know, actively participating and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was real difficult, real frustrating. And so the first time we went to a holiness church was in Savannah, Georgia. Went to the Savannah Holy Church of God, and you know, we were very pleasantly surprised there. You know,
right.
we were surprised at how the people dressed, at the worship, the preaching, and so, you know, we didn't know there was any such churches like that.
Right. So what did you think, Sister Armstrong? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like I say, I was very impressed. I mean, you said you'd never heard a Pentecostal holiness preacher, right? You'd never heard the standards of holiness preached or taught.
Right.
But obviously, your walk with God was one that revealed to you the holiness of God, His standards. I mean, how did you feel when you first came into a church and you saw all that long hair and you saw people dressed decently and modestly? I mean, how did that affect you?